Well, as I was saying before we went to break, when I got the scripts out of order, it is game day in Tuscaloosa. And Alabama and the Florida Gators will square off tonight at 7 p.m. under the lights at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So fans are already out at this hour, but there's going to be a lot more later on. We appreciate you waking up with us. This is Crimson Tide Kickoff presented by AT&T and Alpha Insurance.
Well, Gary, you've heard the game's not played on paper, but what about in video games? According to the folks at EA Sports, the Tide will win tonight. The company recently released a simulation of the contest played out in their NCAA Football 11 game. Julio Jones has a monster game, recording 129 yards, 1 touchdown on only 8 catches. Greg McElroy also put up some production, completing 22 of 36 passes, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. Heisman Trophy winner Mark Ingram rushes for 90 yards, a touchdown on only 19 carries. The Gators rally late, but can't overcome Bama's 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter, and the Tide wins 38-28. We'll see if that happens tonight.
You know, John, it was great having Gene Stallings right here live on the set, but we've still got a lot more to come in the second half hour of Crimson Tide Kickoff.
But first, meteorologist Richard Scott joins us now live with a look at your game day forecast. Richard, a little bit colder today.
Yeah, John and Gary, had to put on the jacket today. A little breezy and chilly this morning, and you talk the perfect football weather. Yeah, this is it. Bluebird skies, a light breeze, temperatures much cooler out there. In fact, let's show you what's happening right now with our temperature map. Up to 57 right now in Tuscaloosa. We were 49 degrees starting off the day, 54 down in Demopolis, 57 in Birmingham, 59 over in Calera. Now, satellite and radar, no rain to worry about. Look, there's no clouds out there as well. A very dry air mass in place, even though there's a front on the way. Limited moisture to work with, a dry air mass. And let's expand things out, show you what's going on across the region. We are talking nice conditions, no clouds anywhere to be found. You see the cold front over Missouri moving out of the plains. That will be moving here later this evening and tonight. Windy conditions can be expected this evening. Now, as we head through the day today, 69 degrees by 10 o'clock this morning. Noontime temperature around 75, sunny skies all day long, a picture perfect forecast. We go towards 4 o'clock, starts getting a little warm out there. We're talking temperatures close to 81 degrees at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Again, lots of sun. The breeze will kind of kick up this afternoon as that cold front does approach from the north and west. But again, no rain to talk about. A perfect Alabama football forecast. John and Gary, you know, the good news is we're talking good conditions all the way through this evening now. As we head into evening hours, it will start to cool off a bit. So be sure to dress warmly this evening because temperatures will really cool off. I'll have the game day forecast. That's a little bit later on the segment. Back to you guys.
Well, what a thrill that was to have Coach Stallings this morning. It really was to have him up here.
We're still pumped about it.
I tell you what, I mean, just to hear his football knowledge.
I knew when you said thanks for joining us early this morning.
I know.
He's
probably, but for us TV guys,
he's probably been up since about 5.
Yeah, I mean, for us TV guys, I mean, it is early for us, I guess, but not for Coach Stallings.
I don't know. With Friday night high school football and now doing this show on Saturday morning and in between getting it ready, it basically Friday just stretches right into Saturday. Now
we don't sleep much.
We don't know if it's early. We don't know if it's early or late, but we're having a good time. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we are about ready to go to our next guest now, and he is a columnist for the Gainesville Sun since 1987. Reading his bio, I also discovered that he likes the Beatles and cooking chili, and that he once shot an 85 at Augusta National. Go figure. Only after he triple bogeyed the 18th hole.
Wow. He is the renowned columnist for the Gainesville Sun, Pat Dooley. Also does a radio show there in Gainesville, and he joins us now on the telephone. And Pat, thanks for joining us this morning. I know you're getting ready for the big game tonight. I was reading your columns this week. You've had some good ones talking about you think Alabama's now Florida's biggest rival because of the setup of these two teams. Also, you think Urban Meyer and Nick Saban have distanced themselves from the rest of the coaches as far as who the top two. And we've got this game tonight, but it's a little bit of a role reversal from what we've had the last couple of times when Florida was favored in the SEC championship game. Now tonight, clearly, Alabama is favored. They opened at 9. I think it's maybe 7 or 8 points still as we go into the game. How are the Florida fans handling being an underdog for the first time, I think, maybe in like 39 games?
I think they saw it coming. It's not like this is a big surprise. First of all, Alabama is defending national champs, and Florida went through this, and those fans know what it's like to go through a year like that. It's difficult. It's not fun, and you know you're going to be favored every game. And when you win, is it by enough? I know that Alabama dealt with a little bit of that last week with criticism of the O coordinator because it was a closer game than they thought. But for Florida, they kind of like it. I think there's the one advantage I will give the Gators coming into this game is that they really have nothing to lose. And that's kind of the attitude of the fans is, hey, look, go there. If you win, it's great. It's tremendous. If you lose, hey, see them in Atlanta.
Well, Pat, I think everybody was impressed last week with freshman Trey Burton. He really had a coming out party. How does this change the Florida offense, and do you think that this is kind of a situation similar to what we saw between quarterback Tim Tebow and Chris Leak back a few years ago?
Well, it's similar, but the one difference, well, there's an obvious difference. One turned out to be one of the greatest players to ever play. I don't think anybody thinks Trey Burton is going to break Herschel Walker's records, but you know, the one thing about it is that Tim did a lot of throwing of the football when he was in games, and it was a great weapon for them. We only seen one pass from Trey Burton so far. That's what, if I'm Alabama, that's what's keeping me up at night, is the fear that he comes in there and does something that they're not expecting. In other words, he does a jump pass or some kind of a play-action pass, because basically what he's done is just run the ball straight ahead on, faking that belly play. And that's the other thing. And I think a little bit of what they did, now certainly they were trying to beat Kentucky. That was the main goal. But I think a little bit of what they want to do is show Alabama this. And now when he sticks it in the guy's belly back there in the shotgun and lets him have it, maybe the defense goes with Trey Burton. So I think that helps Florida. I think that certainly gives Alabama a lot of things to worry about. But I don't think it's going to come down to that, guys. I think it's going to come down to whether Florida's defense can contain Alabama.
Well, Pat, that was going to be my next question. On the other side of the ball, we know the Gators didn't enjoy having the ball really pretty much run down their throat last year by Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson in an SEC championship game. The word is they've been working on getting a formula ready to stop Alabama's running game. We've heard a lot about this heavy package. They used it against Tennessee with 5 down linemen. They really shut down the Volunteers' running game, and we know it's not on the level with Alabama's. But talk about that, and is that more window dressing than anything else, or do you think it's something that they're really going to use a lot tonight?
Well, I think they will use it. Whether they use it a lot or not is the question. To me, what killed Florida last year wasn't as much Ingram and Richardson as it was that Alabama threw the ball when they would be in those kind of heavy packages. And that was really smart on their part. I thought Alabama's offensive game plan for that game was as good as I've ever seen for a team, especially in such a big game. And that any time that Florida was Scott geared up for the run, Alabama would throw it, and McElroy was spot on with his passing. And I think that's a big part of it is Florida goes to that heavy package, which is just basically 5 defensive linemen. One of them stands up. Instead of being a down lineman, but it's a 5-2 basically, and Florida feels good enough in its secondary that they can contain, that Janoris Jenkins and Jeremy Brown can do a good job. But the thing to me is, can they, the tight end, that's what killed them last year, throwing the ball to Ingram and Richardson out of the backfield, screen passes. I think that's where Florida's going to be susceptible when they go to that heavy package.
Pat, a lot was made about Urban Meyer resigning and then coming back in late December, early January. He said a lot of that was that because of the stress of the job, it was taking a toll on him. He was going to cut back, kind of delegate his responsibilities somewhat. How much has he actually delegated?
Oh, a ton. Things that really aren't important, especially he's done a lot of delegating. But even the things that are important, like just for example, getting your weather plan ready for fall practice. In other words, if it rains on this day, what are we going to do? Those are the kind of things, because he was such a hands-on, attention-to-detail guy that he would stress out over their spring practice schedule. Well, now he's got somebody else doing that. And guess what? Spring practice went fine. And he has kind of realized that during this off-season that you and I wish we had. Israel, Italy, Hawaii, the Bahamas, Key West, and kind of got in touch with himself. We all wish we could have an off season like that. But during that off season, he just said, "Look, you guys handle it. You're capable. I hired you for a reason, because you're quality assistant coaches. You guys handle it." And they did, and they did a wonderful job with it. Steve Dazio deserves a lot of credit for that. But so he definitely did delegate a lot more stuff.
Yeah, we know you've got the money to do that kind of traveling if you want. Hey, real quickly, we're down to 30 seconds. Sturgis, the kicker, being out is how big is that for Florida?
Oh, I think it's real big, especially, first of all, he's your kickoff guy, and that's going to hurt them. They got a freshman from Buchholz High School, which is right around the corner from my house, who's going to kick. I don't even know. I wouldn't recognize a kid in a police lineup. And then the field goals, Chaz Henry. And here's the other thing to think about, guys. Chaz Henry was the holder for Sturgeon. So who's going to be the holder for Chaz Henry? Now, obviously, they've been prepared for this because he's had this back injury that's bothered him all year. It was aggravated this week, and apparently on Friday it just got so bad he couldn't take it anymore. So, yeah, well, look, if it comes down to a field goal, I don't like Florida's chances in the game.
Well, Pat, I understand that you're staying in Birmingham right now, and so certainly be careful on the drive down here to Tuscaloosa today, and hopefully we'll see you at the game today.
All right, look forward to seeing you guys.
Appreciate it.
Pat Dooley of the Gainesville Sun joining us this morning. We've still got a lot more coming up. Coming up next on Crimson Tide Kickoff, we go around the SEC. And after a perfect 4-0 start, why are LSU fans booing their own team? This much we know. Les Miles says it needs to stop. Richard.
Yeah, John and Gary, up after the break, we'll have the SEC forecast. We'll tell you about several teams and how the weather's going to be there. You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff. Stay with us.